You'll notice throughout the video that we're going to put new brakes on here. Just while we have this apart doing the hub, I decided to just do the brakes, make it all brand new. With the truck resting on the ground, I'm going to break these 21mm lug nuts free with a breaker bar. Just loosen them all up before you raise the vehicle. Now we can remove these lug nuts the rest of the way. Now you can remove the wheel. Before I take this caliper off, I'm gonna take a large screwdriver and just very gently pry this over, just to take a little stress off of those pads so the caliper comes off easier. That's a little looser. That's good enough. Now those two bolts holding the caliper on, they're 7mm Allen. So we'll remove those. Okay, those are loose now. So you can just leave them in there. Take the bottom one out. Now you can pry this caliper off. Should come off pretty easy now. Those brake pads are gonna stay in there for now. I'm just gonna use a caliper hanger and hang it like this. You can hang it anywhere you want as long as you don't put pressure on the brake hose. Now we're gonna try and take this rotor off. It's more than likely gonna be stuck, so you can take a hammer and hit in between the studs. Make sure you don't hit the studs, you'll damage them. And we're going to try and loosen this rust up. There we go. Use a 36mm socket and remove this axle nut. Now you can remove the wheel bearing. I'm just going to take a rag and clean this up a little bit. I'm just going to take some grease, and not a ton, but I'm just going to apply it here. This will just help with installation. Take the new hub, and just slide it into place. Take your new axle nut and get it started. I'm just going to tighten it down. I'm not going to crank on it yet because it does have a torque spec that we'll have to torque later. I just want to take some copper anti-seize and put some on the hub here to avoid this sticking together in the future. I'm going to use an old nut as a spacer and reinstall a lug nut. That'll just make it easier when we go to reinstall the caliper. And I'm going to reinstall this caliper. Might be a little tight. You just got to work it on there. Now you can tighten up those caliper pins. Don't crank them down because they do have a torque spec. Just get them tight. The torque spec for these bolts are 18 to 26 foot-pounds. So I'm going to go right in between and do 22 foot-pounds. Torque wrench. Do the same with the bottom one. Now I want to take this little cap off right here so I can torque the axle nut. I'm just going to take the end of a screwdriver and pop that out, and then we can reinstall the wheel. Now you can take this lug nut off with your spacer if you used it. Reinstall the wheel. Get your lug nuts started. I have the lug nuts tightened. I haven't torqued them yet, but I have the weight of the vehicle on the wheel. I'm going to torque the axle nut to 185 foot-pounds. And you can put your cap back on. Now we're going to torque these lug nuts to between 85 and 115 foot-pounds. That's what the manufacturer recommends. I am going to torque them to 115 in a star pattern. This will help to tighten the wheel down evenly. Just double check.